Welcome back, Hotshots. Sad news, probably? I'm not sure. Future will show about Need for Speed. Ghost is getting repurposed as a developer for the Frostbite engine, and Criterion gets re-established as the makers for the next Need for Speed. I also watched Theo's video about the topic. You know what's funny? The way he reacted was the way I reacted when Need for Speed Undercover came out. The same reaction that Black Panther had to the announcement of the death, basically, of Ghost Games. I had that when they made Need for Speed Undercover. It was completely earth-shattering and breaking my heart. But since it already happened before with, Black Box, I wasn't that shaken this time, After getting the information yesterday, I was like, yeah, I've had that before. So my initial reaction wasn't as devastated, because I've already lived through the death of actually more than just one game studio that I loved. There was Black Box Games that made Need for Speed. There was Evolution Studios that made Drive Club. And there was also the studio that made Wipeout series that also got closed down. And Bizarre Creation, that studio that made Blur, that got shut down. It has been a recurring theme that all the studios that make racing games that I truly enjoy get closed down after some time. Even if they make a good game. But at least the Need for Speed franchise is being moved to another company. Because all the other games had that one studio, and once that studio was gone, the franchise was gone. I gotta say, I feel neutral. I feel kind of neutral about it right now. It might change, obviously, when we get to see whatever is next in store for the next Need for Speed. One thing I'm curious about, since the game did sell really well, at least in comparison to the other Need for Speeds, because they could clearly tell this is what the fans wanted in a Need for Speed. And they even reported that this game had the best start of any Ghost game, which I completely believe. I'm fairly certain this is gonna be the most well-received game. Maybe not the most sold one. Maybe at the beginning of the PlayStation 4, Rivals sold the most, just because it was like new-gen racing game. Also, I kind of want to look at, the upside. The upside of having a development team in the UK. The UK definitely has some better infrastructure. Like, more people live in that region, so they're gonna have, a good time, a much better time than Gothenburg finding talent for certain tasks. Because the way I see it, Need for Speed Heat had a lot of things going right for them, but they were lacking a few key people to make development smooth. That is the thing that was missing. One thing you should keep in mind: whatever Criterion is right now is not the Criterion that made Hot Pursuit 2010. It's not the Criterion that made the Burnout games. It's not even the Criterion that made Most Wanted 2012. Like, that's just, some people left from before. The way I read it, if I read that Need for Speed article, !NFS, why the studio is being moved to the UK is because they were just missing key people to make a proper game development. Because that's the reason we didn't get a multiplayer when the game released. They just didn't have enough people that were capable of coding a multiplayer game mode. That's the only reason. Now it makes a lot more sense why we didn't get any updates, because they didn't have the power, didn't have the manpower to code a multiplayer for Need for Speed Heat. Like, the most successful games are multiplayer games. If you look at the top of Twitch, what do you find? Fortnite and other shooters. Like, those are multiplayer-based games. League of Legends, Hearthstone, Rocket League. Like, the most successful games are multiplayer games in the long term, because obviously story games, you play the story and you're done with it. But long term sustainability and success you get from multiplayer games. So, on one hand, I hate that the Ghost Studio gets closed down. On the other hand, I see the potential of the United Kingdom to recruit more talented people for the Need for Speed team. Problem is, they are gonna be once again inexperienced to make a racing game. That's the big downside. Yeah, true. At the end of the day, all we can do is hope. I'm part of the Game Changers now. Maybe I can move a thing or two. Maybe I can give them some good tips. Maybe the other YouTubers can too. I really hope that they're gonna include the EA Game Changers that they already have as advisors for the next Need for Speed. That is my hope, you know. The next thing that I worry about, if they move a development studio right now, they have 2 years until the next scheduled release for Need for Speed, right? Let's say they're planning the next Need for Speed for 2021. They still have to build up that team in the UK. And I'm not sure they have the time to build up the team and then develop the game within 2 years. Well, it's not even 2 years anymore. They have 20 months until November 2021. I would be very surprised if we get any substantial updates for Heat anymore. I wouldn't be surprised if Ghost is already history. I think there's a handful of people still working on maybe some DLC for the game, but I think that's it. That's gonna be it. I mean, Need for Speed's future is definitely a little shaky right now. You don't know how it's gonna end up being. Is the new team at Criterion gonna do a good job? Are they actually gonna have more talent available? And will they actually hire enough talent for the next Need for Speed? You know, there's another upside that I can see. I feel like a lot of people were just disappointed in Ghost games in general. Although Heat is the best Need for Speed from them. I think the 3 Need for Speeds before that left a pretty bad impression about the company. So, the way I see it, you know, some people might be relieved just to hear the name Criterion again. The problem that I see with that, we might not get a game as good as we got from Ghost. See, the thing about, you know, the Ghost employees actually moving to the UK, I bet some of them will, but not all of them. I bet a lot of people are just gonna stay in Gothenburg. They're gonna have their friends, their family, their life in Sweden, Gothenburg. Maybe they don't want to, you know, move to the UK, which is not even part of the EU anymore, you know. There's so many things that are gonna happen there. There's definitely gonna be a loss of some talent, but at the same time, there's the opportunity to recruit more talent in the UK. You know, I got a little bit, you know, overwhelmed by those news yesterday, so I couldn't even properly, you know, work through all the information that we got. It's a little bit better today. I built my own opinion, listened to the opinion from other people. I have a much more sophisticated opinion about the matter now. Yeah, I did watch Black Panther's video too. I actually liked how Theo shit on the spinning wheel system in Forza Horizon. Need for Speed is about customization. You guys can keep spinning your wheels in Forza. The double. We brought him away from his racing line and then we hit him again on the way back. Nice.
If you don't involve money, then I don't accept. Something like this.